Okay. Just hit record. Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I'm your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Cynthia Jordan. She played basketball at Temple, then played overseas, and now works at University of South Carolina, Director of Ops with women's basketball. Cynthia, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Angie, thank you so much for having me. This is a great opportunity, and I look forward to having a great podcast.
You know, one of the things that's challenging for a lot of athletes is transitioning when they're finished from playing college. So will you talk a little bit about what you did when you were finished and how you transitioned?
Sure. When I graduated, I was kind of in a transition in itself, just from trying to go from being a collegiate athlete to a professional athlete. And in the beginning, I didn't make it right away that first year out. But like most people, they don't want to stop. So that I spent that year just doing odd jobs, tutoring kids and working out and just staying ready. And a year later, after my graduation, I had an opportunity to go overseas and play in Turkey and Switzerland.
So you said that the first year you didn't make it. Will you talk a little bit more about that? Because I know, like, when I finished college, I didn't have a job lined up. I was like, all I want to do is hoop, right? Nothing else matters but ball. And so I found an agent, but it was rocky.
It certainly, actually, I should have said this first. I actually graduated in 3 years, and just that was kind of a glimpse as to what the future held, and that I didn't really have a plan after I graduated within 3 years to go to grad school. So I was scrambling at the end to try and take a GMAT test and a GRE. And I really wasn't that successful with either test. And then, after I actually played my 4th year and I was trying to go overseas to play, that process in itself was just taxing because I really didn't know, and it wasn't really a lot of guidance, really. I got an agent, just did the basic steps, but, after they have the draft, you're kind of like, okay, well, what now? Mm-hmm. And so I went through that and just continued to work out, and just stayed in Philly, and, I just stayed ready, and an opportunity came up. This was, 10 years ago when you could take former college athletes and go around and play the exhibition games against universities. So I actually had an opportunity to do that, and I played for someone that was an assistant coach with the Houston Comets at the time, Kevin Cook, who's now the head coach at Winthrop. And on that tour, that's where I actually got some good footage, and those tapes are actually what propelled me to landing those jobs overseas.
Now, how did you graduate in 3 years? And you said that you were thinking about grad school, but that just wasn't like working. So what did you do that 4th year in terms of class?
Well, I always said I wanted to graduate early, and that school for me just came natural. It wasn't really something that I was interested in, but I knew that I had to be successful in the classroom in order to do what I really wanted to do, and that's play basketball. So when I graduated high school, I went to college for a summer session before I actually started my freshman year, and subsequently every year I went to summer school. I did summer 1, summer 2, and I essentially did like a semester over the course of the summers, just from taking 2 classes here, 2 here, and they quickly added up, and I always took 5 classes, and I never failed any classes. And when I came in, I stuck with my major. I didn't try to move around. I knew, at the end of the day, I didn't want to be a doctor, a lawyer, anything special. So I just went in with for a business degree, because I knew at the end of the day, life revolves around business. So I knew I would be able to get a job should I actually need one that wasn't playing basketball.
Got you. That makes sense. So take all them summer school classes that you can, and that'll help you. And then sticking with it. Very rarely do I hear people say, like, I went with this major and I stuck with it. Most people take 2 and 3 and actually graduate in 5 years instead of 3. So kudos.
Yeah. Well, thank you, thank you. I mean, you find that if you stick with anything in life, from the beginning to the end, and you don't veer off the course too much, you actually, actually get it done quicker than trying to hop around. So, that's just kind
of, that's a really great point. Multitasking is a myth. Being able to do things efficiently, a lot of different things at one time is a myth. You're right. Staying with it makes a huge difference. How did you end up actually going overseas? What was your process like? There's a lot of players. It's May right now. June. A lot of players ready to go overseas and want to go, but it's not simple.
No, it certainly isn't simple. You got to give a lot of credit to your personal network and who you choose to represent you, because at the end of the day, they're more than likely the main point of contact for overseas. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have an agent that's willing to work, or that doesn't have a solid reputation, they're not going to be able to get you jobs, and more importantly, get you a job that's actually going to pay you. So, it's really, again, it's something that you have to be patient with, and allow time to take place, because what's first might not necessarily be best. Mm-hmm. But again, just that network, because we've had former players at South Carolina that have gone on to play overseas, and then they tell their coach, okay, well, hey, I have a teammate, and they end up coming over with them as well. So just, maximizing really the opportunities and the people that you meet, and growing a bond, so that, because you never know who's going to be that person to help you down the road.
You're absolutely right. And then when you're playing ball, like, you have all of these other coaches and players and people who are in that sphere who may be able to help you. Like, I played in Germany, and it was because one of the coaches on the team we played against had played in Germany for a while. So my coach contacted her and got connected with the agent that way. So you're right. You just don't know. So when did you stop playing, and why?
Well, actually, my professional career was very short, actually, and it wasn't because of injury. It was actually because of opportunity. So I played my first year overseas, and then I went back to Philadelphia. I'm not from Philly, but that's really where all my connections are, just having gone to undergrad at the time. And I was working for my coach's foundation that summer, and running a nonprofit summer league for the girls in the program. And at the end of the summer, the graduate assistant that they had at Temple at the time, she decided she wanted to pursue a PhD. So she didn't want to be in the sports world anymore. She wanted to be more on the academic side. So it was probably about a month before the fall started, and I was just kind of in the right place at the right time. And my body of work had said that I would probably be a good candidate for that position. So I was asked if I wanted to be the graduate assistant, and I couldn't turn it down. It was my alma mater and my college coach, and I just took that opportunity to get a master's degree, and it's kind of why I'm where I am today. So
it's interesting, though, because I think when we're young meaning like 21, 22, we say, like, I'm going to play forever, like, so the wheels fall off. Did you have those conversations too? Like, I'm never going to stop playing. And then you get older, and opportunity happens that you can't expect, and like, oh, well, maybe this makes more sense for my life at this time.
Yes, I mean, again, it's hard. It's hard because you grow up. I think we grew up in a time where, we dreamed of the WNBA, because for so long it didn't exist. And, probably not until Love and Basketball came out did, our age group realize that there's overseas basketball for women to play. So we just always dreamed of playing in the NBA and being like Mike. So I think with that, and, the WNBA was really just coming on board at the time that we graduated college. So just having experienced it a little bit and not really knowing the certainty of it, and I knew that at the end of the day, education really gives you some sense of certainty. And I just felt like that opportunity, it was hard. It was a hard transition to say, okay, I'm not going to play anymore because I'm one that I like to compete. I don't really like to do things for fun. So I knew that in taking that position, I wasn't going to be able to compete anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, taking it, accepting that opportunity, that challenge, it helped me in the long run to be able to really kind of stop playing, but be okay with it because I was still around the game and able to give back and still help grow the game through younger people.
For sure. So you went from a player to a leadership position, and being able to support and give a broader support and exposure to women's basketball. We talked a little bit before. Will you talk about how your role has evolved over the years?
Yeah, so when I first started out 9 years ago, I started out as a graduate assistant, and I moved into a video coordinator position after that 1 year of being a grad assistant, and I've spent the last 5 years as the basketball operations at University of South Carolina.
What are some of your responsibilities? There may be some young women out there who are finished playing and don't necessarily want to even try overseas, but they want to stay around the game, but don't want to coach. Can you talk a little bit about what operations role entails?
Well, first I have to say this first and foremost. Operations is going to vary from program to program. So in my role, because I do have aspirations to coach, I kind of get to experience a little bit of everything. But most importantly, what's going to be most consistent for program to program is organizing all the travel arrangements for the team. Now, this one may or may not apply to all programs, but I oversee the budget. So and it helps me just, having that business background kind of have actually use my degree because a lot of people don't use their degree. So I do get that opportunity, but I do all the compliance paperwork when we have official visits, unofficial visits, if the coaches are going recruiting, just being that liaison between the compliance office and all that it entails, from logging the practice hours, miss class. I handle all the paperwork in terms of our business office, whatever that may be, ordering equipment, subscriptions, and then I'm in direct contact with our sport AD. So I mean, I'm kind of everywhere when it all boils down to it. Housing for the players, anything on campus that they may need. I kind of oversee that and just help. I help in bringing our incoming freshmen or transfer students, help with making sure that they're registered, applied, and all of that. So that's probably what I do most. There are times where I fill in for the assistants if they're not available, if they have medical reasons why they can't travel. Sometimes I go out on the road recruiting in the summers, or fill in for the games. So it's just all depends on what we need, really.
It sounds like you have your hands in just about everything, all the different facets of coaching and in women's basketball program. What would you say are some essential skills that young women who are in college need as they transition out?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say this. As a young person in this day and age, they're consumed with social media. And in social media, you can be anybody. You can create a life in 140 characters or less. And so with that being said, I think you have to believe in your position, whatever it may be, small, big, however, you have to treat it like it's the biggest thing. And you have to stay in that role. I think, if you don't stay in something a long period of time, you don't appreciate it and really take the time to get the most out of it. And then lastly, you have to star in that role, because if you grind and you really focus on what it is that you're doing and not doing other stuff or trying to be here, there, whatever, and not really being great at what it is you're really supposed to be doing, what you'll come to find out is people recognize that you could be doing something else, and when the opportunity becomes available, it's no question they'll tap you and say, "Hey, Angie, I need you in this position now," and the opportunities are endless.
You know, CJ, you bring up a really good point. One of the things that's unique and rare amongst our generation is staying anywhere along. Like, you've been in this role for 9 years, or college athletics for 9 years, and you've been with just two programs, right? Temple and then South Carolina.
Yes, that's correct. And actually, I could very well still be at Temple. It's really, for me, people always ask me, "Hey, what's your goal? What are you trying to do?" And, I got into this by happenstance, really, just being in the right place at the right time. And I'm forever grateful and indebted to my college coach, Dawn Staley, for that opportunity.
Yep.
So for me, my goal in all of this is just to be on the staff that, she wins her first national championship. Because I know at the end of the day, like, what's for you is for you. And in her achieving her success, I know that I'll be successful in the same light. So,
yeah, absolutely. Working with a great leader is one of the most important things that young women can do, like when they transition. So if you have an opportunity to work with a great leader, that can propel your knowledge, your wisdom, and your success further, much more than hopping around a bunch of different places. Did you make a conscious decision that because it was Dawn Staley that you wanted to stay with her and help her achieve and be a part of that team, or had you had other thoughts about what you wanted to do?
well, the conscious decision, I mean, had it not been her, had it not been Dawn Staley, it's more so it was my college coach.
Gotcha.
More so that just happened to be Dawn Staley.
Okay.
But it's just in having played for her, I know her values.
Right.
And it is something that, I'm forever grateful just for that opportunity to be able to go to Temple University and on a basketball scholarship where my family didn't have to worry about paying for college. And I had a great experience. If I could do it all over again, I would play for her. So just being able to be alongside of her and helping her, because when I went to Temple, yes, it's in Philly, but we had a dream of winning a national championship, and we weren't able to do that as players. But being older, I still have an opportunity to help realize that dream, and it's something more so that I want to do more than anything. So it's not really a dream job out here that I want. So
yeah, I am fully confident that y'all are gonna make it happen. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that it's gonna happen for sure.
Well, thank you. Definitely been a process, and we're trying to stick with it, so that we can make it come true.
Well, part of making that come true is recruiting players. What's your advice for? There's a lot of young players out here who want to play at the next level. What's your advice for them who want to play at the next level, who say they want to play?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, you say you want to do it, and maybe you work hard as you're getting older. But again, this generation, there are a lot of things that can detract you from putting that time in. I mean, we grew up in a time where we had basketball courts outside. It's rare that you find outdoor courts, let alone people on the courts playing. So, if the kids this day could get back to being focused on putting in time into their craft and actually honing their skills, and then when they actually get on the campus, just being balanced and okay, you can still experience college and be social and academics, but in your free time, put in that work in the gym that got you there, so that you can realize your dreams and maximize it and develop your skills to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, I think some of the to your point, some of the challenges with young players these days is there's so distractions. There's always someone like calling you or texting you or Facebook and an Instagram or Snapchat, and like I can't keep up at all. It's like it's a lot going on. But you mentioned work hard. Will you define what hard work is? Because when you talk to kids, you say like, "What's it going to take to play the next level?" And everyone says work hard. And it's like, hold on, but what does that mean? Coming from someone at that level, what is hard work?
Hard work, it's what you do when nobody's watching. Um,
Yep.
It's one thing to say that I'm in the gym, but if you're just in the gym, I know I've walked through gyms a number of times and okay, people have music on, you're texting, you're on Instagram. How are you working hard if you're posting videos? You're supposed to, it's nonstop work, whether it's 45 minutes hard, but it's really when you're locked in and you're going at a game speed. It's not a jog. It's not. That's really where the hard work takes place. But I think it's just without distraction and nonstop, just repetition and really focusing in on your craft.
Yeah, putting in that work. There's nothing that you can replace hard work with. Like no magic pill, no strength shoes, like nothing. Like either you grinding it out or you're not, and that's going to determine your level of success. What's your feelings about summer ball? So when we hooped, like we're talking 10, 15 years ago, like for a few tournaments and you went to them, now it's nonstop. How do you balance? What's your advice for balancing games with practice, especially in that summertime?
Well, I think more skill work um, should be a component of the summer.
Yeah,
Whereas now it's big business, honestly.
it is.
Summer ball for these kids is big business, and it's not really teaching the kids the game of basketball. It's okay, we're gonna go out here and play, but at the end of the day, it's just checks being lined up. So, I would love to see it get back to maybe cutting down the amount of games,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of tournaments, because now, you and I personally can't have a tournament because of my job, but, anybody really can put a tournament together. And so I think if you cut down the number of tournaments, it forces people to have to develop their kids, because either you go to a tournament, you're going to get embarrassed because your kids are not at that level and you're playing. It's a more competitive summer
Mm-hmm.
summer game, and at the end of the day, nobody wants to get embarrassed. So you're not going to take a subpar product out there to on a national scene. You're not going to do that. So I think that would cut it out, by just making less tournaments for teams to participate in, and force the game of basketball to really be taught, before you even get into those tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. It is pretty amazing though that anyone can have a team, anyone can have a tournament. I know the NCAA now has folks have to be certified, but still, the game has become so fragmented because there's so many teams, and so the level of competition outside of just maybe EYBL or some of those few leagues isn't as high as it used to be. I think part of it too, and we'll love your insight, is that parents want so much for their kids. So parents are willing to do anything to make sure that their kids have opportunity. What's some of your advice for parents on how to best help their kids who say they want to play at the next level?
Well, I can say this from a personal experience, and I'm forever grateful for my mother for this. But it just makes me think about the parents today. And when I was a freshman, I I was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the plays. I was like A&1 mixtape. So I used to get yelled at every day at practice. And I never really got in the game. I think I played a total of 63 minutes my whole freshman year, but I practiced every day. And we were into our conference season, and we went on a trip to Ohio. We played Dayton and Xavier, and so we came back late. And I called my mom that night, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come home tomorrow. Like, I'm gonna be on the train. I'm gonna get there at this time. I need you to pick me up. And she's like, well, don't you have school tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm coming home. And she's like, wait. Like, why are you coming home? And I'm just like, nah, this is just too much. I can't do this. Like, she's like, well, what are you gonna do? I said, I don't know. I'll just figure it out when I get home. And she's like, don't waste your time or your money because I'm going to send you back. So don't even get on that train. And so I just say that to say that now in this day and age, in those situations, the parents are like, oh no, baby, come on, let's go. If you look at the transfer rates in college athletics, people are just up and leaving because they're not essentially getting what they want. I mean, there are other reasons, but in the grand scheme of things, in the majority, the masses, as to why people are transferring, it boils down to playing time. Yep. So, if parents could, challenge their children to stay put and trust in the process and trust in, what they signed up for, because nothing easy is worth having because everybody will have it. So, you gotta go through some things in order to really reach new levels.
And it's not fun, right? So I think we live in this culture where we want everything to be fun and enjoyable, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, preseason workouts are not fun, but you have to go through it and you have to prep and get there. And I love that you played 63 minutes your freshman year. Like, that's normal freshman. Most freshmen don't come in starting and playing every game. Like, I didn't start at all freshman year, but had a really, really great, a really good college career. But it's normal to not play a lot. And I think going through that struggle makes all the difference in the world.
It is. The struggle is what gets you to the next level.
Yep.
It really is.
It absolutely is. How did you deal with that down the line? So your mom said stay. I'm sure that wasn't the first struggle that you had in college or even after. So I guess what I'm asking is, what are some challenges that you faced, whether it's basketball or professionally, and how did you overcome those?
Well, I mean, basketball, and I shared them with you, just, my freshman experience, and then following my fourth year and just transitioning from collegiately to professionally and finding opportunities. But so that's kind of how I handled that. And then from a professional standpoint, there have been different opportunities where people have approached me about new jobs, new positions, new opportunities. But, on face value, I haven't, they've interested me in that, okay, they're assistant coaching jobs. And subsequently, I do want to coach, but, when you get past that and outside of yourself and really like evaluate different situations, you'll come to understand that, okay, in the end, what's for you is for you. So no one can really keep you from that. But you can't jump on every opportunity because it's really everything that looks good isn't really good. So just being able to really look at each situation and understanding, if that's best or not. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about patience. It really is, because the right thing for you will prevail through patience.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Cynthia, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast, for being a part of this interview. I know a lot of young women will learn a lot from your story and just learning about how to be patient and about the recruiting process. And so I really appreciate this.
Well, Angie, I really appreciate you having me. I'm grateful to be able to share my story, and I hope that one I can inspire um, tomorrow's leaders and
Yep.
and just be a light in showing them that good things do happen with hard work and patience. So I wish everybody the best, and I look forward to hearing some of these stories in the future.
Definitely. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem. Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. They